Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to this channel. And today we are going to be talking about an interesting topic. What makes a musician? What makes a pianist? What makes a musical artist? What makes someone a creative, essentially? The reason why I wanted to tackle this question is because I was thinking recently on how I wanted to discuss musicality. If you watched my last tutorial video, I kind of left it on a cliffhanger saying that I was going to have a part 2 to beginner mistakes. And I wanted to talk about things related to musicality, but it really struck me that it's really hard to talk about musicality in just like 3 points, 4 points even, right? There's so much to it, there's so much nuance. And so I decided that I wanted to take it all the way back to the beginning and talk about first and foremost why we want to achieve musicality before we dive into the question of what is musicality, before we then dive into the weeds of what specifically do we do to achieve musicality. I think it's very helpful to understand why we want to do something before we go and learn the technicalities of how to do it, because the whys always dictate the hows. The whys create the demand for the hows, and if we understand the whys, then we will have the discipline to then go and learn and apply the hows. This was a question that was posed to me on my stream a few months ago, but yeah, I never put it out because there wasn't a good time for it, but I suppose now is better than never, and so I hope you enjoy my thoughts on what makes a musician. But regardless, I hope this video gives you some food for thought and helps you clarify some things in your own head as well. And now here's the video. The question that was posed to me was, what makes someone a pianist? What makes someone a musician? And I think this is a question that has a lot of merit to answering because it's a very interesting question. Like, what separates me from anyone else who just plays the keys of a piano? And I think what was interesting was that the stream chat almost unanimously agreed that passion is a big part of what makes someone a musician. And I have to agree, but I think after ruminating on it for a little bit, I think what really separates a musician from someone who just plays an instrument is that a musician is passionate about communication. What do I mean? So the first thing I'll say is that, of course, this is just my definition. These are just my thoughts. This is just a discussion that I want to have. But I think what I mean is that to me, music is a language. Music is a means of communication that goes beyond what spoken word and written language can accomplish. And I would note real quick too that within this definition, someone who is passionate about communication encompasses both the high-end professional and the person who literally just started today. Both are valid musicians. If you are someone who plays an instrument, think back to why you started. Okay, I get it. Some of us were forced to because we were kids and our parents were like, learn the piano, learn the violin, whatever. But if you are still playing now, and you enjoy playing your instrument, why do you enjoy playing your instrument? Even if you're someone who has never played an instrument before, and think back to the last song that you heard where you were just floored, where you're like, wow, this person gets me. Like, what was it that just hooked you, that just gets you, that makes you feel something different? And it's precisely this act of communicating, this act of expressing emotion, this act of telling a story, storytelling through a medium, that is what separates someone who just plays the keys, someone who just plays the notes, from someone who is a musician. So my thought process on this is very much so molded by my violin teacher back in 8th grade. I forget what I asked or why it came up, but she essentially said to me, Caleb, why would you make music and not share it with anyone? Why would you just make music for yourself? Isn't music meant to be a form of communication, a form of expression, a form of connecting with someone else in a way that is impossible to do with words? Because in a spoken language is governed by the rules of semantics, the rules of syntax. There are certain things that will unfortunately never be expressed because we are bound by these rules, by the logic. You will always, for some reason, miss out on the totality of the story that you were trying to tell. What's fascinating about music is not that it doesn't have its own rules, but those rules are slightly different. And because the language is slightly different, you get to say different things. And it's almost like how different languages have different metaphors or words or like idioms and phrases to describe certain things that like a different language might not. And music, if we think of it as a language that way, certainly encompasses things that each and every single language cannot express. But it's also more universal than every single language out there. Most people would agree something sounds sad on a piano in a certain key. Most people would agree that something sounds happy, something sounds angry. It's almost like how facial expressions are pretty ubiquitous across cultures. And I would say, take it even a step further beyond just having a new set of rules that you can work a language within, and you have something that can, as closely as possible with our current facilities, express raw emotion as it is. There's just this X factor that just is able to create connection between me and you when you listen to my music, between you and someone else when you enjoy the same song. And it's like if you take all that and then you distill it into a passion, into a person, into someone who plays an instrument, and you get someone who is passionate about spreading that sort of connection, talking to people through this means, storytelling in such a compelling manner, then you have a musician. Then you have a pianist. Then you have a violinist. You have a guitarist. You have a singer. You have a songwriter. You have a composer. You have an arranger. To a certain extent, anyone can do what I do on the piano and play the notes per se. But not everyone has the passion for communication. Now, of course, on the topic of communication, I think there are tons of ways, tons of messages that you can say through your playing. Actually, I think one of the best things to reference with regards to this is the anime Your Lie in April. For all the people who have seen it, right, you'll know that Kosei, Takeshi, and Emi all have very different things that they are trying to say through their playing, and the show does a very nice job of portraying that. Takeshi and Emi both play these very flashy Chopin etudes, and their message is, look at me. That's the story that they're trying to get out to their audience so that they hear them and see, wow, this is who Emi is. This is who Takeshi is. These are the people that we are listening to right now that is embodied in this music. Contrast that with Kosei and Kaori's message when they play. It's less so, look at me, but look at the story that I'm telling through what I'm playing. Now, don't get me wrong, right? Both messages are things that I have said at different times through my playing. There are times when I have put in the work and I'm like, look at me. Look at who this what I'm playing right now is an embodiment of who I am. All the hard work and effort that I've put into this piece. But there are also more sweeter times, more tender moments when the message is, look at the story that I'm crafting behind this. Look at my life experience that is behind this. Look at what this thing that's so dear and precious and special to me, or so painful, bitter, and angering to me, or so sweet and delicate and wonderful to me. Look how this has melded its way into my music and is now coming out to you. But yet, in a strange way, you get me less than you possibly could than if I were telling you words because you don't understand the specifics. See, this form of communication is very nebulous, very abstract, but very beautiful because of it. On one hand, I have a lot of things that I can say to you, but on the other hand, the way that you hear what I'm saying can become very personal to you as well. And this is what I think is one of the most beautiful and profound things about music. It is strangely unifying in a way that words can't describe. It brings people together and draws people together. It connects them emotionally in a soul and spiritual way that words just cannot do. But there's also something very unique to each person about the experience of music. It is unifying yet unique in all its forms. And this is what makes music fascinating to me. It is a form of communication that is very distinct yet very nebulous. It is very understandable yet incomprehensible. And that passion for this sort of communication, the passion for this sort of connection, the passion for seeing people and connecting with people and telling these stories is what makes someone a pianist, is what makes someone a musician, is what makes someone an artist, a creative, a storyteller. And sure, there's so many technical things that play into musicality, but yet fundamentally, what do all those things work in service of? I say this a lot on this channel. Every single technical aspect always works in service of expression, of conveying a message, of musicality. I know there are a lot of people who just want to play, like knock off certain milestone pieces and like performances off their list. And I get it. There's a thrill to being able to play Animenses Unravel, but like at the end of the day, I think what's frustrating to me about seeing people only play piano or any instrument for that matter for something like that is that you either hit your goal and then you have nowhere else to go, right? Because you realize that there's a cap to your technique, or you don't hit your goal and then you stop. And so apply that to any instrument, apply that to any craft. If you just want to do something cool, go for it, right? I'd say go for it. I think the world's better when there's more people playing music, when there's more people doing fun things and interesting things. But like, that's only going to carry you so far. And if you are someone who's only playing piano to play Animenses Unravel, I hope that you attain your goal. I genuinely do. But I also hope that someday, along the way, while reaching that goal, you find the passion for communicating as well. I think probably my biggest goal for this channel is to foster a community of musicians who care deeply about music. Sure, there's been seasons, and there will always be seasons of technically grinding, of just putting in work, learning notes, learning new things, and you just have to work through that. Yeah, that's true. There will always be those seasons. Those seasons, again, always work in service of bringing you to a new place, a better place of being able to say what you want to say. And I think that this is what makes music special. So, TLDR, what makes a musician? What makes a pianist? What separates a pianist or a musician from someone who just plays an instrument? My answer is someone who is passionate about communication, someone who's passionate about storytelling, and someone who is passionate about connecting with other people. Alright, and that about does it for this video. Hopefully those were some interesting thoughts for you, because I think music really is wrapped up around communicating. And if we truly desire to communicate well, then we will strive to understand what musicality is, and then we will strive to understand the details, the nuances in what musicality is. But anyways, as usual, if you have questions about this video, feel free to leave them down below, or come to my stream on Saturdays, where I do a lot of video reviews and more analysis that helps you guys out. You can find me on my Discord server, a link for that is in the description as well. There's a community full of people who are all trying to get better at piano, and we have great discussions and dialogues on how to do that. So we would love to have you if that's something that you aspire for as well. As usual, if you would like to support the channel, you can do so via Patreon or buy me a coffee. Links for those in the description, or you can get WattKeys merch. If you like this video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you would like to see me do more analysis, you should click right here. Or if you would like to hear me playing, you should click right here. And of course, if you would like me to make a video on anything, feel free to leave that in the comments down below, and I might get to it. Either ways, until next time, everybody, peace.